Get the fuck up.
Surprise. It's Courts of Thunder. I love that. It's the U.S. Open. We are, 3 days into the tournament. And Greg and I were tweeting or texting each other all night last night. We just finally said, fine, we'll do a quick little thing, quick little update.
This is what Serena does to you. I mean, how can she not, inspire us who've done this? And I've been talking about maybe this is our version of Serena's last dance. So she's inspiring me to, at least if I'm going to go out strong, go out swinging.
Dude, and that's what this show is. Let's just be straight up about that. This is a Serena Williams appreciation moment. And here, I'll hit the things because I don't know if we're going to do it again.
Courts of Thunder.
Holy hell. At one point, Greg texted me last night and said, dude, you might want to slip over Tommy Paul and Seb Corder in the 5th set. And I said, bro, I love you. There is no chance I'm doing that.
Well, I just said, if you want to check out, it was like 3-3 Serena, and Paul was trying to serve it out. I was just like, I'm going to watch the game of him trying to serve it out. Right. And like everything in this tournament, it all set up perfectly for me and Serena, my experience enjoying Serena, because he won 4 straight points. I got to see that and flip right back. That game wasn't even over yet. Over at Serena, but it was so intense, and I think it was even more intense hearing you. You've been even a bigger Serena fan, I think, than me, longer than I have. That your wife was bothering you, and that it was almost so intense though. Like during the second set, for instance, when I kind of felt like that was going to go away, I'm like, I'm going to do some dishes with the TVs in that room. I can watch while I'm doing it. But it's like, it's so intense. I almost needed a little break. So that's what that Paul thing was. I almost needed a break already. It was so intense.
Dude, my heart, I said back to Greg, I'm like, bro, I can't go anywhere. Serena is playing too well. And Fair. Look, we have to give Greg his credit. He said, I think there might be a little Serena magic in the next couple of weeks. And again, as I said last night, let the record show that once I got it, I pinned him down on what that meant. I actually agreed with him once we got there, but Greg was playing.
I mean, you just felt pressured to. What did I said? She'd make a run to the quarters, that great players can do great things. 2 out of 3 sets. And so far, yeah, it is set up perfectly, and that match last night was very different. We can talk about the differences between the first 2 matches that she's played, but last night was a different feel all around, and certainly gets you even more excited about Friday's match against Tomljanovic.
Last night, what I've said, and I talked to Pam Shriver for a couple of minutes this morning about
Humble brag.
I am friends with Pam Shriver. I don't it's never gotten me a free drink, but I am friends with Pam Shriver. And who thankfully was willing to do my show from her makeup chair as she was getting ready for the broadcast day today. The way we talked about it, Serena plays like that. If she plays like she played last night, there's not someone in this tournament she can't beat. She can win the U.S. Open if she plays like that. Will she? Is it reasonable to expect her to be able to do that for 2 weeks?
No, I don't think it's reasonable to expect her to do that for 2 weeks. Expect is the word that to me is carrying a lot of weight. Yeah. I agree with what you said, though. If she stays at that level, she's going to have a good chance in every match. And I think she could still be beat. And I think the situation would change as you get closer to the end. But I think just from the two of us who watch a lot of tennis and can kind of understand when matches are at different levels and her level, to me, she looks similar to how she looked post-pregnancy when she made 4 Grand Slams, which I would say is not like greatest of all time Serena, but took advantage of some draws and also played big points well enough to make those 4 finals. She didn't quite finish it off, but that's the sort of level that she played at. Really, the whole tournament changed for me for her. The second set of that Krunic of the first match, Kovanic match, that it started to really come. And then last night, there was the dip in the second set, but the level was fantastic. And the movement was what was different on Wednesday night. She moved like Serena on Wednesday night.
Greg, the thing that's different, like if I had to try to define it to someone, I would say the difference is she's there for it. And I remember you and I talked about this in the preview episode, which is there some part of her that's ready for it to be over? Is there some part of her that at some point when
No.
faced with adversity, would say, okay, I've made my peace with it. I'm good.
You're
It's
crazy.
not happening.
Why even ask this question? Maybe
It's
she
a
was getting
question.
tight in big moments. She just didn't have the match experience, but I don't believe that would have been the problem. I think it's just like, look, she hasn't won any matches in like a year plus. And when she got into these big moments, she was getting tight. And you've even seen that in this first two matches. But then she did the Serena thing where she quickly sort of got over it,
That's
broke
what
right back.
I think it's been the exact opposite of that. I think you have seen someone who has said, I don't care. I will leave everything out there. There are so few points. What jumped out to me about the second set, Greg, was I think she was really internally struggling after getting broken in that first game with how much she should dive into the games that followed it versus trying to leave it in reserve for a third set being down a break. And I know it got wonky there because she ended up breaking back after she fell behind by 2 breaks. And then it's like,
still was 6-2. I don't want to, toot my own horn here. Oh, yes, I do. I believe this would have happened all along, but maybe I should be a tennis coach. Here's a text for me last night after you sent a text nervous.
I did say that.
That was after she fell down a break in the second. And I just said, and this is only at 2-0. I said, yeah, make this quick. Save energy for a third set if it's not going well.
It's what it felt like was going on internally in her mind.
Fine. That's tennis. That's tennis when you're 40 years old, especially.
100%.
But it's tennis in general.
Decisions.
Yeah.
That how far am I going to go in this set versus knowing, hey, I'm likely to play a third. I need to make sure I still have somewhere to go back to in the third. And that was what it felt like was playing out. The biggest thing that jumped out to me in the first set, particularly after she got broken back and had to go to a tiebreak, was she was there for it. And if she's got to stay behind the baseline for multiple, like if she's got to play a 20-shot rally in order to finally get there, she's going to do it. She is very tentative still to come into the net. I get it. Like she's not Brandon Holt tentative, which is one of the most absurd things I've ever seen in my life. But she's still very tentative to come into the net. Because she's aware of the advantage.
Literally, no one got that reference or was watching Brendan Hall, but that's fine. You don't need
that
to
match. No chance. I bet he flat out refused to go to the net. Stayed behind the baseline the entire time. But Serena's not that. She did come in fact, took 4 more balls out of the air than maybe she should have last night. There were a couple that were very nervy where I was like, yo, you're really taking that out of the air right now? Like, that's crazy. But she is willing to say, if I've got to play those rallies, I'm not going to bail out of them. I'm in for it. That's electric.
That's a really great point. And I that's where my amateur coaching mind was so wrong watching the early stages of that match, because Kontaveit is not a player with big weapons. She's going to win her game is clean ball striking, stay in those long rallies, win those types of points. And so my thought initially, when there was a lot of those points early, was like, this is not a winning strategy for Serena. We need Serena to just win first strike tennis, go for winners early. And she never really got there. She waited until she had balls to hit. And you know what? It absolutely worked. And so you're absolutely right. She was confident, I think, in her fitness level and her preparation, that actually her weight of shot, her pace, her service return, and her serve would be enough, that she didn't need to be going for winners off the ground strokes early in rallies. And she didn't. And she really did win mentally. And then I think she just won because her serve wasn't quite as good as like the second set of the first match, but it was still great. It was still a weapon. Spots. And more than anything, Kontaveit's serve was not a weapon, and Serena was all over it for most of the night. And she was going big on those shots. So even though it's not like she broke her all the time, like once she got a foothold in a game and got like a love 15, it was just like she was teeing off. And for the most part, she was putting Kontaveit on the back foot and was kind of ahead in those points. And at no point did Kontaveit really look like she was going to take hold of the match. I know she went and won that second set, and she got aggressive early in that second set, but for the most part, it felt like it was on Serena's racket, which, oh, by the way, that's what Serena matches feel like.
Correct.
Generally.
I agree. Couple things in there. I thought Kontaveit played really well in general. I thought her level, her hitting was, I mean, there were points where she was just hitting lasers, just absolute lasers. Now, some of that is deflecting Serena's power, right? Like we all know that you're playing a powerful player. Some of it is just deflecting their own power. I thought she was hitting some lasers. I thought she played at a very high level last night. Strategically, we can debate that, but I think the level of her play was high.
I agree. It was a high level match in general. It wasn't quite Collins Osaka first set, which to me was the best set of tennis I saw in this tournament, but it was. I agree. Kontaveit, if you haven't been tracking it, she's seeded 2, but her point total is very low. It would normally be the point total of like someone that was 6 or 7. And then more to the point, she hasn't done anything in the last 4 months. She's like 15th, 16th in the race. But I think that's sort of the level she played at. That was she did not show up and shrink from the moment for most of it. But I do think the crowd was a factor. And early in the third set, I really felt like if Serena plays well here, the crowd and Serena's energy she's getting from the crowd and her mental toughness is going to be very tough for Kontaveit to stand up against. And I wasn't sure if she was the player that was ready to do that. And you're right, even though the level was good for the most part, I think that came true in the end, that she wasn't quite ready for the 3-set tussle. Someone else might be.
You've been out there for 2+ hours and it's wearing on you and everyone hates you. Like you can't.
You do feel for her. It's a factor. 100%. The crowd. She answered all her questions in English, and I didn't see this, but I'm going off tweets, and was very gracious. What a great experience. All the best things about Serena. One reporter there from Estonia who asked, what he said was a very gentle question, saying like, how was this experience for you? You played at such a high level, but obviously it's not easy. And she started to answer that question in her native tongue, and she started crying and left the press conference, and that was it. And you could just you can understand how difficult that would be for most humans and most professional athletes, even.
No question about it. 2 things that jumped out at me from Serena post-match. The one where, like Mary Jo Fernandez asked, like, is this surprising you? I think it's a statement that she's like, no, like not at all. I think it's a statement about what we're referring to and why she was confident to say, I'll hang in and play those rallies. Like, she clearly is here to try to do something at the US Open. This was not the farewell thing for her. I just want to go show up one more time and play. She clearly believed she was there to do something at the US Open. And then she sort of casually was like, Mary Jo's talking about beating the number 2 player in the world. And she said, well, I think I'm pretty good too. And I'm just,
right. I think she feels, she said that she's not surprised, of course. And she's like, I'm Serena. And I get that. Like, she's been the best player since she first stepped out there. And she mentioned it feels good not to have the target on her back. Like, it hasn't felt like that since 98. I thought was a telling quote too. And I believe that. So it was more surprising to her when she was struggling over the last month, when she went 1-3 and looked particularly poor in Cincinnati. It was really just that one match, to be fair. I thought she looked okay when she lost in Canada, to be fair to Bencic. It was a tough one. So I'm not surprised she said she doesn't surprise, but I do think there's a huge difference between that first round match and the second round match. I think that the first round match was sort of is this just the celebration and the vibe is one thing. And I think she was tight for the most part. Once she got that first set, Kovanic was, a lesser opponent. And I think Serena got through it. And I think if you're a Serena fan like we are here, I think the hope is, I think that first match, getting past that, that was almost the most pressure she's going to feel for a while. And now she can not be surprised, as you say, by just like playing her game, because as she said, she's felt very good in practice. She's played a ton of practice sets, and it's like, okay, now my instincts can just take over and try to enjoy this, because I got past what would have been the worst case scenario, which would be like ending your match on a 3-match losing streak to a no-name in the first round. And like that is a different sort of pressure, and she's past that, and now she can just like have her Jimmy Connors 1991 run.
Are you not entertained?
Go.
Yeah, right. I'm with you. I told you before that if I looked at that grouping and said, here's the one that stands out to me as maybe the trickiest in the first 3 rounds, it wasn't Kontaveit. I said it was Tomljanovic. That was the one that I looked at and said, Here's the one that at the moment, and not to say that Tomljanovic has been dominant, and she struggled in her second round match, but I just thought that she was the most informed player that Serena might have to play in the first 3 rounds. Now, again, I think Kontaveit played pretty well last night. I think she played high level. So I came into this. I think Tomljanovic is a more difficult opponent to face at the moment, but I don't know if she can play as well as Kontaveit played last night.
Yeah, I would say I would expect a similar type of level, which would make me think that Serena is a favorite in that match. Maybe even, somewhere between a favorite and a significant favorite.
Okay.
But Tomljanovic could absolutely step up there and play great. And the bigger concern with Serena is, like, can she keep building? Because that's what she used to do.
Mm-hmm.
And she's playing doubles on Wednesday night, or Thursday night. My first, reaction.
Save that. We'll get to that, because
I know, but I'm just saying, like, she's gonna keep playing, and it's like, okay, is this going to be a thing that builds, or is it going to be hard to keep up this level and keep up this energy? If you're a Serena fan, you've seen her get better and better in Grand Slams, and if she gets better and better in this Grand Slam, forget it. Tomljanovic is a heavy underdog. But just for some context, for people who haven't been like watching the tour that closely, she's a top 20 player right now, Tomljanovic. In a way, actually, maybe Kontaveit probably wasn't coming into this despite the rankings. They didn't give rankings points at Wimbledon, which is, I think it was a mistake in hindsight. But Tomljanovic would be a top 20 seed at this tournament, would be top 20 in the race for this year too, if they had given those points. And she's a rock solid player. I think she'll like the moment in a way that maybe Kontaveit didn't. And I think she'll be up for it. It's really hard to know, though, because I think the crowd's a major factor. I've never seen a crowd like it's got to be louder than any crowd of any of these night sessions. It's just a lot.
This goes back to, for those that maybe find this show because they're fans of Greg's or something like that. This goes back to what we always talk about in sport. What I fell in love with.
Don't say that so derisively. Oh, fans of Greg's.
No. I'm not. Maybe there's. I do actually know there's a couple of you that are fans of mine that have found the show that aren't tennis fans necessarily, that just like my content. But I think there are more. I think we all know there are more of viewers that way. This is what made me fall in love. Their prime time at the US Open is such its own animal in the history of this sport. It is very difficult for me to compare anything. I understand that Wimbledon is the most historic championship, and because of that, it's considered to be the greatest prize in all of tennis. But there is nothing in theater, in sport, to me that compares to prime time at the US Open. I don't even know how to explain it. And to put this in prime time at the US Open has given us everything we could possibly ask for in these circumstances. There's nothing forced about this. There's nothing. This is so raw. This is so real. It is so special. We've had some cool, like the way the crowd came back to Daniil Medvedev after hating him the year before was a cool thing. We've had some cool crowd things in the last couple of years. It is not been the same without having a dominant male American player.
It reminds me of, and this is a much bigger, but it does remind me a little bit of Sampras's last run. When he ran, and they kept putting him in prime time. And believe me, the tennis was much more boring, and he didn't connect in the same way, but he was a great American champion,
right?
Prime time. And because of his age, and I think, look, Serena's picking these times. They asked her, like, when do you want to play? And that's when they would want her to play too. But if for some reason she was like, please, I want to play first up in the day, right, like they would put her there. It's the best situation for her. They're making the opponent wait as they like play the Oprah thing for like 2 minutes,
so weird.
As they call her on. And that actually Oprah's after the match. Like that's an advantage. Like it's a home court advantage, and that's what it's going to be.
Okay, now let's talk about the thing.
What thing? Courts of Thunder. Wait, I do want to talk about the draw just a tiny bit for Serena.
Okay,
the Serena, the singles draw quickly, because I think we're now changing how we felt about this. We're like
1000%.
Well, I was saying I think she can make the quarters, and that was partly because I think she can be in the mix. I think she has a chance to win this title, but I would say that about a number of players.
She's now the sixth favorite according to
that feels about right. And I would maybe even put her higher, but I'd put like the top 6 or 7 similarly. If she beats Tomljanovic, potentially her next matchup would be the winner of Samsonova versus Krunic. Samsonova has played 12 matches, Glenn, since Wimbledon, all on hard courts. Do you know how many of those she has won, Glenn? She's won all 12, Glenn. She has won all 12.
There's a reason.
She won Washington. She won Cleveland. I looked at the people she's beat. There's some pretty good ones in there, including Tomljanovic, by the way, including some quality players. Fernandez, maybe being the best one on Tuesday night. That to me is a very dangerous match, just because maybe she's just like the type of young ball basher that maybe will just like be in that moment. And then as I look at Serena's side of the draw, there's 2 other matches in the third round where I almost think both of those matchups include 2 players who could also win the tournament, and that's Andreescu versus Garcia and Keys versus Coco. So it's a very interesting side of the draw, and I think a lot of the best players happen to be playing each other in the third round. Garcia is maybe in the best form on tour. She plays Andreescu, who looked incredible, and Keys Coco. To me, the winner of that will have a real chance to go deep, make a final. That's it. So it will not be an easy draw.
No, not at all.
Serena Samsonova, especially if she gets to the 4th round on a 13-match winning streak, like that's the one where people will just start assuming Serena's going to roll, and I would be nervous. But one at a time. Okay.
By the way, they've actually altered she's tied for sixth. The FanDuel's got Swiatek 3-1, Coco 10-1, Garcia 10-1, Samsonova 11-1, Sabalenka 12-1 , and then Serena.
Wow.
So
Samsonova's that high. See, I mean, this is what I'm
exactly
talking
right. Serena actually is back to 6. She's 14.
By the way, I'm not I can't do that because of my job, but I would maybe take a Coco Garcia platter there, and Garcia would probably be the one I would lean to. I know it'd be a lot to win a first Grand Slam, but she's outstanding. But I would also take Serena because that'd be more fun. All right,
it's definitely more fun. All right, now the question that I was going to ask is the one that you and I started talking about last night. Tonight, as we're recording this on Thursday afternoon, I think it's a very cool move that the U.S. Open planned to put Venus and Serena playing doubles on Ashe in prime time. It's just not something that you've ever seen before, but it makes all the sense in the world. We are soaking this up. The question becomes, now that we're reimagining what Serena is capable of doing in this tournament, do we want her playing doubles tonight?
I have mixed feelings. I'm excited because right now, like, this is what we live for as sports fans, as tennis fan. It's the Serena show. We will look back on this fondly. And the fact that now it's like a nightly show. It's not even every other night.
Yep.
It's not like a mini series or whatever. It's nightly, as long as her and Venus keep winning. And they've got a tough matchup actually in the first round, from what people say. I'm going to trust Serena's instincts here. She basically won't practice because of this, in that she says she needs matches. It's obviously not like playing a singles match. You just hope it doesn't wear her down if they keep winning, or they're, God forbid, an injury or anything. But she looks to be in such good form, like physical form, moving, that you tend to give her the benefit of the doubt in terms of what she thinks she needs. Put it that way.
I agree with you. The argument, when I brought it up with Pam, the argument she made was she has to do this. She has to do this. This is a team they've won 14 Grand Slam titles. We need to say goodbye to them too. Like, it's important that we don't miss
14-0 in Grand Slam finals.
Grand Slam finals.
The best Venus and/or Serena stat there is.
It's incredible.
That is just,
I mean, my God, it's unbelievable. It's insane. And that because they just, as they gotten older, they haven't played. We haven't had the opportunity to say goodbye to them. They've also, by the way, won 3 gold medals at the Olympics, as if that wasn't enough.
They haven't played together in at least 3 or 4 years, I think. I think they played once.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think they played once or twice after she was pregnant. Yeah,
they haven't won a slam since Wimbledon in 16, I think, was the last time.
Right, but they also haven't even played.
Right.
I think they played maybe once or twice after she had Olympia, and even that was 3 or 4 years ago. So, okay. By the way, Pam convinced me. Life is short, Glenn. This is just like a special moment, and like, why play anything safe if you're Serena? Go for it. Like, get all the experiences and selfishly give us all those experiences.
100%. Let's ride with it. And so because I felt the same way. You and I talked about it last night. I felt the same way where I was like, oh no, I didn't.
Well, I was on a high. Like, I was on a high enough. I was like, oh, should we podcast? I was trying to like sit, we got a lot going. It's like, but it's like, it's just like too inspiring. But yeah, that was my thought.
All right. Now let's just quickly.
Courts of Thunder.
We're not going to talk too much about the rest of the tournament because it's literally being played as we're recording, and who knows when you guys are listening to this. So I just want to react to a couple things that have already happened. Hell of a pick by me, Bella Haddad Maia to win the U.S. Open. Hell of a choice that I made there. Although I think
people call her Bella.
What did I
like a nickname? Beatrice?
Oh,
no, they might. They might.
I don't even know why I said that, but yes, correct. You're right. I did. I picked Haddad Maia, and my God, as you pointed out, Andreescu looked phenomenal.
I watched the second set of that, and she looked good. I think she's a contender, but I also think she's playing literally the best women's player, just form wise, at this very moment, and that's Caroline Garcia.
I think, by the way, I made a Bella Hadid the model. Bella Haddad Maia is what just happened there. Is somehow in my brain, that's the way the synapse is fired. So great pick on my part. The most disappointing thing to me so far in the U.S. Open is unquestionable. This is a rue this day thing for Taylor Fritz. It was all there for him. Everything was there for him to have a magical run at his home slam and to assert himself as being a legitimate part of the next group of players behind Nadal, Djokovic, Medvedev, that crew. And this is to me, it won't, when somebody loses in the first round, it's not Djokovic, it's not a threat to win the tournament. Nobody really seems to care. I think this is as big of a yak as an American player has experienced in a long time.
I get it. And you're like, I don't disagree, except for the way you were talking about it beforehand. That was like, this was his chance. And look, he's 25. He's gonna have chances. And he said he felt stupid for thinking he could win this tournament. He should have thought he could win this tournament. And that's why the greats are the greats. They don't have losses like this, but it doesn't mean that he can't have a run when he's 28 or when he's 31 or whatever. You're right. The draw was setting up well for him. And now potentially it's setting up well for Tommy Paul, who granted has played 10 sets and like 10 hours of tennis already. But that section
that's what he does,
wide open,
right? Like
that section is wide open, and it includes a Murray Berrettini third round.
Which is
so. By the way, Murray's gotten through these two matches pretty cleanly. So that's a really fun third round. And if Murray can get through that, then it's game on. Because that whole section until the semis is wide open. And if Berrettini wins like he should, we could see a nice long run for your guy, Matt, maybe against the winner of Medvedev Kyrgios when he gets to the semis.
The shot that he hit on match point yesterday, I said, might be as sexy as he is. Like it was so great. The shot that he hit on match point. I understand what you're saying about Taylor Fritz, but I'll go back.
By the way, Tsitsipas and Felix have had just as bad losses as Fritz in this tournament. Everybody happens.
Everybody beats Tsitsipas.
So I'm just saying, this is what happens to top 10 players that aren't like all-time greats in this era.
But hang on, let me go back to something you say, because we talk about this a lot. One of your tropes is they're the next gen until they never are, right? And that's sort of my issue with Taylor Fritz, is that we can keep saying, hey, he's only 24. He's going to be 25 here in a little bit. Like, he's only 25. Okay, but at what point do you stop saying that? Like, I understand
when it stops ascending. Like, he was almost ranked 40th or something at this point a year ago, and he's now 10th, and he won Indian Wells. And he's had some other good results this year. So I'm just saying, like, these things happen.
Yeah, this was a bad one, bro. This was a really bad one. I don't know how else there is to say it. This was really bad. Anything else you want to squeeze in quickly?
No, I got in my big takeaway, my big point on the other women, which was that Andreescu, Garcia, and Keys, Coco. I would love a little double. Actually, they've probably announced it, so I shouldn't say anything. But the double primetime women's matchups on Friday, do that. Why not? So these matches are going on too late. Go Keys
Mm-hmm.
Coco as the dessert for Serena Tomljanovic. I know they're not going to do that, but how great would that be? Like how
wouldn't
they would
Murray,
love to be the.
But wouldn't Murray Berrettini, shouldn't that be on Ash at night?
I get it, but that's going to go until 2 a.m. I just mean like the connective tissue here between Serena and two young Black American players who, by the way, like deserve to be on Ash anyways, because I think they have a chance to win this tournament with each of their form. That is a fantastic third round match. So a little Serena first, a little Coco Keys next, but I doubt it's happening.
For the record, they have not announced the schedule yet for tomorrow. So who knows? Maybe you'll end up being right. All right. No idea if there's going to be any more of this, but if Serena keeps winning at some point, Greg and I inevitably will end up saying, oh God, we've got to talk about it. That's the way that goes. Some of you guys reached out to me about trying to help us out of the business end, and I'm going to be in touch. I promise. I'm going to be in touch because I can't. It's too much right now. So,
I mean, I'll take the help, but my biggest help is I need to change the tennis schedule from
so it doesn't line up with football. I understand.
Peaking in certain spots where football is starting or in the playoffs, but yeah.
No doubt. All right. For Greg, I'm Glenn. This has been Courts of Thunder.